I'm Sarithre, and today I'm going on a floss adventure. I don't know how many of you were here last year, but basically, last year I started a challenge for myself where I learn a new craft using the same embroidery floss that I use for my main craft, cross stitch. I put together a whole website, a list of like 30 plus different crafts that you can do with embroidery floss, and there's a whole video if you want to watch that on what the plan is. So this is only my second year doing it, but every June I plan to try out a new craft or practice one of the other crafts that I've been neglecting. Speaking of which, this year I am stupid busy, so I don't know that I will be quite as explorative as I was last year. Last year I learned 4 different crafts. This year I'm focusing on one. I'm going to try out chicken scratch, and if I have time, I will practice some of the ones that I learned last year that I haven't touched since. Anyway, chicken scratch. What is chicken scratch? Basically, it's embroidery that's done specifically on gingham. Now, I have a lot of gingham in my collection of fabrics, but they're all these very small little squares from packs of fabrics that I've gotten that I use mainly for piecework and like backing small cross-stitch projects. So I have them on all different colors, and I never know what to do with it. So I figure I would give chicken scratch a try. Now the problem I have with these is that they're very cheap fabrics, and you probably won't be able to tell on camera, but it is very slanted. It is not even at all. It looks like it's been stretched in multiple directions. That's my main concern, is that I don't know if it's going to be straight or not, but we'll figure that out. And the plan is to make a little pencil pouch or a project pouch or whatever. I made this a while ago from a tutorial I found online, which I will link down below, in which I just did cute little patchwork squares. Also from one of those cheap little bundles of small fabrics. And it turned out pretty cute. I hadn't done very much machine embroidery. I haven't done very much machine sewing at the time, so this is one of my first projects, and it turned out super cute. So I'd like to recreate this, except this middle strip will be a strip of gingham in which I will embroider some chicken scratch. So that's the plan. So I still have a whole bunch of this rainbow fabric that I used in that, so I'm probably going to use this as the lining. I don't know. I think it might be too busy for me just to do a strip of purple gingham on this. Like, it's too late. This pops too much. So instead, I have a whole bunch of very plain purple that I rarely use because it's literally just purple. So I'm thinking a strip of gingham plus this purple, but I might still use this as an inner lining because I like the insides of my pouches to be lighter, because usually if I'm looking in there for threads or whatever, I don't want it to be a dark void. And because none of these purples match, I will have a 4th shade of purple for the zipper. It'll be great. It'll be fine. So first things first, I need to make the fronts of these. Alright, so I have 2 fronts, well, the front and the back. The front and the back of my future pouch. This was kind of annoying. What I ended up doing was stitching right on the line of the gingham, trying to make it actually straight, so you can see where I tried to keep this seam as straight as possible. This is a little bit smaller than it was supposed to be, but that's okay. And the reason I stitched it on here first is because, again, I don't have a lot of this gingham fabric in any one color. So in order to do both the front and back, I had to use basically the entire square. and I wanted to make sure that I was able to get it straight on there first, and so I would know exactly where the center is, so I can stitch out from there. The other reason is, if it's a small strip like this, it's harder to put on a Q-snap or a hoop. So I have my front and my back, and we need to figure out what we're going to stitch on these. I did, of course, also cut out lining fabric and interfacing. So I have that ready to go, but I gotta do some embroidery first. Next up is figuring out what colors I want to use for this. So the pattern I'm going to be using is this Floral Corner by Mary Corbett, except I'm going to be modifying it and pretty much just doing a straight line across. So rather than it being a corner, I'm going to just go straight across and repeat that pattern. It should fit. Looks like it's about 17 high, and we've got just enough room in there for a little bit of breathing room. And that's the idea. Now the main issue is, of course, that this is purple, and those flowers are also purple. So I need to figure out what color I can use as a contrast with this purple. So these are colors that I've picked up from thrifters over the years. I've cleaned them up and gotten them all nice on bobbins. These are the ones that were labeled. They may or may not be current dye lots, but I do at least know what color they were meant to be. And then I also have a smaller box of colors that were not labeled, so I have no idea what colors this is supposed to be, and some off-brand colors that are labeled but may not be exactly as the DMC. So I don't like to use these for my cross-stitch patterns because I want to make sure that the colors on my patterns that I'm selling are as accurate as they can be. So I like to use these unknown colors and these potentially old dye lots for personal projects. So let's take a look by starting with colors. I have just a ton of. We do need a yellow for the centers. I will be using white for the borders. Let's see, I have this nice 726, or I could also go an even lighter 754, excuse me, 745. But I think the boldness of this purple means we should go bold colors, right? So we need a nice strong green. What about this unknown, looks like a 702 maybe off the top of my head? What does my color chart say? About a 702. Cool. Maybe 703. Just goes to show you how much I look at these colors, that I know them by number on site. So we have our base colors. A white, a 726, and a probably 702. And those all pop rather nicely on my purple. And now the choice of flowers. We could go with a strong pink color, like a purpley pink. Maybe. We could go, or even maybe a 601 here. A nice vibrant pink. We could go with a bright blue, which I think will stand out pretty nicely. This one's not labeled, but it's probably approximately a 995. What else could we do? We could just go like a bold red, like this 606, and that's an option. That could work. What I'll probably end up doing is leaving the flowers for last, and stitching up all of the background stitches and the little leaves and such, and then trying a couple of different flower colors. Maybe we end up with a full rainbow, who knows. But trying a couple of different flower colors and see which one works best. Like a baby blue might be nice. It's not as bold, but I think that could be really pretty. Since we don't have to decide right away, we at least have our choice of colors for the other elements. And then once we get those on there, we'll try a couple different flowers and see which works best. So, I haven't even started and I've already found a problem. Well, you know how I sewed up everything so that I could make sure that it was all straight and that I could find the center, etc. And so I could find the center and so forth. Well, I have it all hooped and ready to go. That's the exact center. And the center of the flowers, which is the center of the pattern, is supposed to be in one of the dark rows so that the squares are in the white rows. So if I stitch it center, which it's like pretty much exact, because the pattern is 17 high and this is 19 high, which is a problem because if I move the center up one, let's say, then at the top I'm not going to have any edge, and at the bottom I'm going to have 2 squares edge, which might be what I have to do. But that's my bad. And they're both like that. But it's okay, because I fully expected to be making multiple mistakes. I didn't think to have to math out exactly which line it needed to start on. But hey, this is why we're learning a new craft, right? So I think I am going to just stitch up one from the center and then deal with that as it is. I'm starting with the yellow because, again, I wanted to make sure that I got the center of the flowers first. Yeah, and because I'm lazy, I'm starting with a knot, although same with cross stitch, although I do loop through the knot so that it's secure. But the back's not going to be visible at all. It's going to be behind interfacing and lining and etc. But anyway, so I'm starting off with a X. And then I'm eyeballing the center from the rest because you'll notice that these are not perfect little squares. Like, vertically is taller. These are squares. These are mostly squares. These are kind of rectangles. So we'll see how that affects my pattern, I guess. Again, this is pretty cheap fabric, so I wasn't expecting a ton out of it. But yeah, pretty easy. So basically, I'm going to start by doing all of the double cross stitches. That's the yellow ones for the center of the flowers, as well as the white ones for the rest. The yellow ones are where the flowers will be, and you'll see that I'm skipping one. That middle one will be white. And I want to do my X's more or less in the same order so that they all match. It's actually kind of hard to keep these guys straight. I don't know if you can tell. I'm so spoiled by like having pre-made holes. Oh, I forgot to skip one. Okay. Skip one. But I doubt you want to watch me make a jillion double cross stitches in real time. So let's time lapse a bit and I'll come back when I get to some of the fun stuff. Okay, I have done so many double cross stitches. I am kind of sick of them, not gonna lie. I did both of the panels fully during breaks or like sitting on the couch chilling or what have you this week. I should go through and do the little like squares first, but I'm so sick of white, I'm going to do some green. So I did a couple just so that I could get it on the cute snap. And I wanted to go over how I've been making them. I don't know if this is the correct way or not, but I'm not stitching through the fabric for the most part, except in between stitches. But I'm grabbing that little leg, grabbing this little leg here, and then whoop, going through over here, looping again, and then finally going down just behind that leg. I'm gonna do that again because I don't know if I was on camera the entire time. So I'm coming up from right next to a leg, right? And I'm gonna go through or around this little leg of the cross stitch, or double cross stitch, around this leg to create a loop. And then one last loop, and then down. And back up at the next one. So I gotta do that a whole bunch more times. And I don't know that so far Chicken Scratch is the craft for me. It's a little bit too repetitive, but it has been a nice change of pace. I will say that it requires a lot of rotating, at least this part does, so it's not the best for filming. But yeah, I'll keep at this and then I'll come back and check in with you before the next step. With all of the leaves finally out of the way, I've started this little like lacy bit down at the bottom. Very similar to the leaves. We're still going just under here and making a square. And then I'm also doing this part of the lacy bit, I think for the top section, since I don't have as much room because I had to start one up from the center, I will just do the squares and not add this bit, and that should hopefully fix the overall that should hopefully fix the overall imbalance that was created by having to shift up one. This part requires a little bit more attention, I guess, by me. Since it's not just the same stitch over and over again, which is nice. I probably should have done this square while I was still over there. That's okay. I'm gonna do this one this way. This is hard to do. Normally I've been just rotating, but every time I hit the table it makes a loud noise and that's not great for recording, so I've been trying not to. But it really is easier to just rotate. There we go. And I'm just going to keep at this for a while until I have both of them done, and then we can finally move on to the flowers and figure out what color we're going to do the flowers in. So let's cut to that, because that's more interesting than watching me go in circles. Literally. Okay. So, as you see, I did do just the bottom section with the additional Lacy Bits. I think that kind of balances out a little bit more, so that now we still have two from both the top and the bottom. I think it looks okay. I've been pulling this a little bit too tight. You can tell it's actually pulled out some of the stitches that were sewing that to it, but that's okay. Once we get it all finished up and interfaced, it'll be fine. The next part is to try out a couple of different flower colors to see if we can decide what we want the final colors to be. I'm going to start by doing a red one, so it's nice and easy to pick up on camera. And I'm going to just do one. Let's do it over here. Okay. I've come up through here and I'm not entirely sure what order these should be done in. I think we gotta do the smaller loops first, and I'm gonna go through this way. And I'm gonna try not to be stubborn and actually turn my work. But I keep getting it stuck on the edge of the Q-snap. Is that a sign that my thread is too long? I don't know. Let's go through. And now this time I'm going to loop through this way and start on the next round. For the first ones, we're going through the smaller loop. Trying so hard not to pierce the thread, but I am using a sharp needle. Maybe I shouldn't. And then go through up higher in that. So hard to actually be able to see what I'm doing and also make sure that it's on camera. I don't know how people do this. I need to figure out a much better camera setup. If you have any suggestions, please let me know. So this red is kind of giving me poinsettia vibes. I don't know if that's the direction I want to go in, but I don't hate it. This pattern is interesting. I'm not sure that the outer loop is actually all that distinguishable for me. Like, it kind of just blends in together, and I don't know if I'm just doing it incorrectly. That is part of the fun of learning, right? One more loop. And then the wider part. And then down. So that is theoretically what the red looks like. I'm gonna do a couple more off camera so you don't have to watch whatever horrible thing that just was. And we'll come back and make a decision on colors. Fair? Okay, so I have 4 options here. First we have the red one that I did earlier. Definitely gives kind of Christmassy vibes. I don't know. I mean, it looks good, but I don't know if that's what I'm going for. We have the pale blue. I like it, but it kind of blends in with the background a bit. We have this pinky color. I'm covering them up so it's easier to maybe see how it would all look together. I think that one's probably my favorite. Pops quite nicely. And then we have this darker blue, this like 995. I've already forgotten. I think it might be a little bit too dark. So I like them all, but I think my favorite's this pink color. Now I could keep them all and just do like an alternating pattern. There's nothing stopping me from using all of these. But I think I want the single color, or maybe a 2-color look. Maybe if we just alternated the blue and pink. How would that look? That could be cute. And it would keep me from getting bored doing an entire row of pink flowers. Maybe that's what I'll do. I'll have to move one of these, unfortunately, because I spaced them out. But yeah, maybe that's what we can do. Alternating blue and pink. And we're done. We have 2 full panels with all of the stitching done. Ready to go. I do like that we have the lacy bit down here to balance it out. And yeah, this took forever. I think I calculated a total of 16 hours of stitching, not including the like hour or whatever I spent cutting and sewing together this fabric. So yeah, it's not a slow craft as compared to like cross stitch. I mean, 8 hours for one of these panels and it goes pretty far, but it's still a lot of time. I don't know that I'll be doing this again. It's incredibly repetitive, but it was nice to turn my brain off for a bit. Let me show you the back. I don't know if this is what the back is supposed to look like. I did use knots, but I'll be covering it with interfacing, so it'll be fine. Yeah, speaking of which, it's now time to move on to turning this into a pouch. This is not my tutorial to share. I will put the link down below to what I'm using to make this into a pouch. Alright, I have added interfacing. So all of my thread tails are safely secure and it's now much more flat. It looks kind of nice. That's awesome. I did notice that these panels are a little bit shorter than the inner lining panels. I think I took more of a seam allowance than I was supposed to, but not that much. What I'll probably do is just square these off and work with whatever size we got. Alright, so I'm finding that these are very different sizes. So what I've done over here is line up the two panels so that they match where the stitches start on this half blue star, so that they're the same on that end. And then when I turn it around over here, you'll see that this one ends on a half blue star as well. Nope, we're missing like a whole thing. So since this is the shorter one, I actually have to cut based on the shorter one. So we're actually going to be cutting through that flower. Hopefully it won't cause too much of an issue. But I'm going to try going for just shy of that row. Actually, it looks like we can go about EA far. So I'm going to go for this line here to cut it so that it's even. This is the fun part of experimenting. You never know how it's going to turn out. But that's okay. And then try to make sure that that is as straight as possible, because we don't want to lose too much more fabric. And then let's aim for right about here. Oh, that's painful. Hopefully the interfacing will make that okay. And that'll be our seam allowance, so that'll get sewn in anyway. Okay, so we have a straight line to work with at least. Let's go for the edges. We've got our two panels. They look all nice and neat now that they're not fraying at the edges. I hate this part with a passion. What I'm gonna do is mark them and cut them with scissors, because I don't trust myself to rotary cut 1-inch squares. Not that I trust myself to be able to cut a straight line with scissors, but slightly more than with a rotary cutter. Just because of that angle, I will tend to cut too far over, and I don't want to. Alright, time to get these assembled. You thought that was going to be a transition, didn't you? I'm far too lazy to do that twice in one video. Let's just cut to the next clip. It is nearly midnight, but I stayed up finishing that pouch, and it's adorable. I didn't bother binding the raw edges on the inside. That doesn't bother me. And again, it's already midnight and I want to go to bed. But hey, I think it turned out pretty cute. I even managed to line up the edges, which I don't think I did with my original one. I think they were, yeah, no, it's way off here. So, I have improved my technique somewhat in the interim. This one is a little bit smaller, but that is okay. It's also stiffer. I don't think I used the same interfacing as I did on the previous one. But that's nice because it can actually kind of stand up on its own. Let's see. What did I learn about pouch making? Not much, just kind of improving my technique. This was one of the first projects I did, so like I have progressed. My machine is struggling in some cases. I kept having it not up on the back. I need to figure out what that's about because I have no idea what I'm doing when it comes to sewing. But I was able to make a pouch, and that's all that matters. I have a cute little zip. As far as the chicken scratch is concerned, it's adorable and I love it, but I don't know that I'll do it again. It was a little bit too repetitive for me, but maybe it's for you. You should try it out. It's pretty fun. I might do some smaller patches if I ever need to, like if I did another crazy quilted item. If I have any scraps of gingham that I want to add to it, I might embroider a little thing on there, but not like a large panel like I did with this one. Yeah, I think it's pretty cute. So there's this year's Floss adventure. As far as, I'm not even looking at the camera, I'm sorry. There's this year's Floss adventure. I still have some time left in the month, so I might do some crochet maybe with some embroidery floss. I might do some more shuttle tatting, we'll see. But if I do, I'll be posting most of that over on Instagram or in the Pixel Stitch Discord. If you want to join my Discord, there should be a link down below for that. Come share what you've been working on, or don't. That's fine. I'm so tired. I haven't been posting super regularly this year on YouTube, but I have been posting monthly over on my website, where I do articles and tutorials every month based around cross stitch. I do have a few videos planned for later this year, all cross stitch themed, I assure you. So I will be back, and hopefully you will be too. But whatever you decide to do, keep creating. And I will link to the pattern down below, and